Yeah, I mean, I think, there's always excitement heading into the season, but I think that's grown this year, knowing what the season looked like last year and how much better I feel like we're going to be this year. I think just the excitement's through the roof. Yeah, Unrivaled was an amazing experience. I think it's huge for players to be able to stay in the States, get to play against the best competition from across the league, and get to play with and against them.
The Washington Mystics thought they broke the Indiana Fever after bullying Sophie Cunningham in the preseason and embarrassing them with a win on May 28th. They probably figured the Fever were done, Caitlin Clark got injured, and everyone wrote off Indiana completely. But here's what the Mystics didn't count on. Sometimes when you knock down a team, they don't stay down. They get back up swinging harder than before. And on June 3rd, with their backs against the wall and their superstar sidelined, the Fever delivered the most satisfying revenge game you'll ever see. What really happened during the last time these two teams met that made this revenge so sweet? Picture this. The Washington Mystics walked into CFG Bank Arena and beat the Fever 83-77. But it wasn't just the win that stung, it was how they did it. The Mystics treated Indiana like they were some rookie team that didn't belong on the same court. They played with this cocky attitude that screamed, "We own you." The disrespect started way before that game, though. Remember what they did to Sophie Cunningham during the preseason? The Mystics bullied her like she was some nobody. They shoved her around and acted like the Fever were just punching bags for their entertainment. That behavior set the tone for everything that followed. Then came the injury that changed everything. Caitlin Clark went down with a left quad strain on May 26th against the New York Liberty. The basketball world immediately wrote the Fever's obituary. Everyone said they were done without their superstar. 2 weeks minimum, they said. Maybe longer. Here's where it gets really brutal for Indiana. After Clark got hurt, they couldn't buy a win. First, the Liberty beat them. Then the Mystics embarrassed them on May 28th. Then the Connecticut Sun piled on May 31st. 3 straight losses. 3 games of everyone saying the same thing. The Fever are nothing without Caitlin Clark. The Mystics probably looked at their schedule and saw June 3rd circled as another easy win. Why wouldn't they? Indiana was falling apart. Their best player was sitting on the bench in street clothes. The team looked lost, confused, and completely outmatched every time they stepped on the court. But that's exactly what made this setup so perfect for revenge. The Mystics expected another punching bag. They expected the same broken team they beat just days earlier. Washington walked into that building thinking they were about to feast on a wounded animal. They had no idea what was coming. The Fever spent those dark days after the losing streak doing something the Mystics never expected. They weren't breaking down. They were building something that would make Washington regret every single moment of disrespect they had shown. With Caitlin Clark sidelined, who would step up to lead this revenge mission? The answer came from someone who had been Clark's backcourt partner over the last year. Kelsey Mitchell, the heart and soul of the franchise of almost a decade, suddenly found herself carrying the hopes of an entire franchise on her shoulders while their star player is sidelined. You ever had the first 4? Washington has rattled off 8 in a row. Niana's missed 5 straight shots. Mitchell catch and shoot, and ends it with a 3. Great screen on the baseline by Bonner. She's point guard of the future.
We're making strides. We know where our first 5 games been at. We know where we've been at as far as the win and loss column, so we're taking it real serious about the shots we get. I think for me it's about staying aggressive, and so if I see it, I got to be aggressive about it. So that's everything you see right now.
When Aaliyah checked back into the game in the second quarter, she rattled off 8 points. How was the offense able to get her more touches in the paint?
She's there for a reason. She's one of the best for a reason. And so the way she hammers bigs, it's important for us to get the ball to her. She does an awful, amazing job of stealing people. So it's only right that we get it there so she can go to work.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey.
Of course.
For one. Mitchell turns the corner, gets inside and lays it in. telling you, Pat. What am I going to say about Mitchell? Mitchell knew what this game meant. She had been there when the Mystics embarrassed them just days earlier. She watched Washington treat her team like they didn't belong. The pressure was enormous. Everyone expected the Fever to fold without their superstar. Mitchell had to prove that Indiana was more than just one player. The early moments of the game told the story. The Fever needed someone to step up and take charge. Mitchell looked around the court and realized it had to be her. She had been playing professional basketball for years, but this felt different. Sometimes the best revenge comes from the players nobody saw coming. While Kelsey Mitchell grabbed the headlines, two other Fever players delivered the knockout punch that left Washington stunned. Lexie Hull and Aari McDonald turned this game into something the Mystics never expected. Let's talk about Hull first. While Lexie brought her usual hustle, she was completely invisible in the first half from an offensive standpoint. 0 points. The Mystics probably thought they had her figured out. She sat on the bench at halftime, knowing her team needed more from her. But Hull stayed ready. She kept working. She waited for her moment to strike. Coach Stephanie White saw exactly what she wanted. The team recorded 21 assists on 30 made field goals. That's how we want to play. That's how we have to play in order for us to be successful. White said after the game, "The ball moved around the court like magic. Players made the extra pass instead of forcing shots. They created better opportunities for everyone." Kelsey Mitchell found her leadership voice during this stretch. She wasn't just scoring 23 points. She was directing traffic on offense and making sure everyone stayed involved. Mitchell discovered she could be the veteran presence this young team desperately needed. She proved she belonged in that role. When the lights got brightest, Lexie Hull found something even more valuable. She discovered her clutch gene in that second-half explosion. All 14 of her points came when the game mattered most. Paul learned she could take over quarters and change the momentum of entire games. That confidence doesn't just disappear when Clark comes back. Then there's Aari McDonald solving their biggest problem this season. The Fever needed point guard depth desperately, especially with Sydney Coulson not performing up to expectation. McDonald signed her emergency contract and immediately showed she belonged. 7 points and 5 assists in her debut. 3 steals that disrupted Washington's offense. Coach White called her defensive intensity exactly what the team needed. Her ability to integrate so quickly proves the Fever can add talent.
I think it started honestly in high school. I would get triple team, double team, and I would just have to keep scooting further back and further back. And I think building up strength throughout college has also helped me as well.
And make it work immediately. That kind of depth becomes dangerous when you add Clark back to the mix. Here's what makes this so exciting for 2025. Every player now knows they can step up when needed. Mitchell knows she can lead. Paul knows she can take over games. McDonald knows she can run the offense and lock down defensively. The role players have become legitimate weapons. Picture what happens when you combine this newfound team identity with Clark's return. The Fever won't just be a one-player team anymore. They'll have multiple players who can hurt you on any given night. Opponents can't just focus on stopping Clark when Aaliyah, Boston, Mitchell, and Hull, as well as a battle-tested bench, all pose serious threats. The team that learned to win together is about to get their superstar back. That combination creates the foundation for something special in Indianapolis. This 85-76 victory changed everything for the Fever's championship hopes. They proved they're not just Caitlin Clark, plus 4 other players. They're a real team that can win when it matters most. Mitchell showed she can lead. Paul proved she can take over games. McDonald demonstrated she belongs in the rotation for 2025. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.